Good evening and welcome to our wonderful evening service. Let us join together in consciousness as we begin this evening. As I relax into this moment, I accept and know that there is light and love, peace and joy that surrounds each and every one of us, and that something that occurs this evening is a gift. So I open my mind and heart. I allow myself to be receptive. I receive this evening with a sense of gratitude for all of the goodness that is present and revealed. And I know that today all is well. With a grateful and humble heart, I know that tonight's service really does absolutely do what it's meant to do. Open minds and create a space of honor, safety, respect, and kindness. With that in mind, I release these ideas into the law of mind, knowing it is done and all is well. And together we say, and so it is.
My name is Kathy Whitehead, and our land acknowledgement is we work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe and Wendat peoples, and more recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit and Haudenosaunee nations. As we gather from many places on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, including the Métis, Inuit, and all other Indigenous people. Although I am not a person of African descent, I'm committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada. As part of this commitment, I would also like to acknowledge that not all people came to these lands as migrants and settlers. Specifically, I wish to acknowledge those who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. In support of our ongoing efforts to confront anti-Black racism, we pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. We also acknowledge the contributions made both in shaping and strengthening our community. By making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. And our vision is transforming humanity through the emergence of the sacred, authentic self. And now, let us prepare for meditation.
Well, good evening. My name is Reverend Mary Ellen Cassie, lovingly known as Rev M.E. And our meditation tonight is from a poem of Christopher Wallace, who is a Canadian from Vancouver, British Columbia. So beginning, I'd love us to join in consciousness and to begin with 2 inhalations and 2 exhalations. On the first inhale, we would inhale and say the word love. And on the exhale, I invite you to say authenticity. So inhale, love. Exhale, authenticity. And again, inhale, love, and exhale, authenticity. And so I begin. Authenticity. Just be real, friend. Be who you are and where you are at. That's enough. and it's the only way forward. Most of us have put on enough masks in our lifetime to have completely forgotten our original face. We've become far too clad with the heavy coats of expectation, suffocating under the weight of the ways we think we ought to be. You can drop that garb. There's always mystery at the naked core of who you are, and that's just fine. It is not that we must rediscover some definable self and hand that image over for validation. Rather, those solid definitions we cart around with us are heavy enough as it is. But we've continued pushing them despite the distress. We've gotten so used to that awkward play of needing to be a somebody, as if that somebody were other than who we already are. We've forgotten how to let go with all the spontaneity of a flower's growth, forgotten the beauty of our own personal bloom, that we are a fluid sweep of light and dark, that our faces, like the moons, wax and wane. You don't have to be any which way other than the way you are. That sort of self-acceptance is the innate flourish, is the fluid self-cycle, is the way back into life. Don't fool yourself into believing there is a better disguise. Strip down to the bare beauty of your authentic state in this moment and move from there. My affirmation for this closing of our meditation is I love myself through all experiences and all is well. Authenticity is my daily practice. I'd like you to join me in saying that with me. I love myself through all experiences and all is well. Authenticity is my daily practice. Namaste, many blessings. And now for Reverend Barbara to give us the word, her blessings, as we listen attentively. All is well. Reverend Barbara.
Thank you, Rev Emmy. Well, tonight the talk is living authentically. How do we create a great life? Finding your unique genius and letting it flow. So I wanted to share with you a little funny thing that I heard. Well, we'll start with a personal note. So I just wanted to share with you some really good news. I got 8 hours of sleep in 3 days. I know. I heard this joke yesterday at MCC Toronto, and I just loved it. You know, a fellow person who doesn't sleep well, and that tends to be one of the things that I often find, that I sleep a few hours and then get up and get busy. But sleep can be a challenge for many of us at one time or another. And given some of the changes that we've been going through over these past 3 years, it is kind of understandable, isn't it? We've worried about our health. We've worried about our loved ones. And maybe we're grieving over the losses we've experienced, whether we've lost a loved one or even the ability to simply buy the products that we're accustomed to using in our homes. There's been many changes, getting in to see a doctor or hanging out with friends. All of these things were interrupted over the last 3 years. And so it's brought with it some stressors and some things that for us can be a little bit difficult. So life challenges, they can seem daunting, and finding the pathway through sometimes feels a little bit impossible, but there truly is a way. And when we tend to think of the problems, sometimes we catastrophize the events and we'll let our fears about what might occur, our mind can take us down some dark roads, and it will. So what we come to understand here at CSL is that science of mind is actually a healing teaching. So it's a teaching that provides us with a way through so that we might create new results, that we can begin to heal our bodies, our minds, our environment. We can heal a lot of things by changing our minds. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind wrote, "Since the law is mental, we must believe in it in order for it to work effectively for us. But it is always working according to our belief, whether we're conscious of this truth or not," right? Because whatever it is we believe, that's what we're creating. So demonstration takes place through the field of the one universal mind. We set the power in motion. The law produces the effect. We plant the seed. The law produces the plant. So he goes on to write, we should never allow ourselves to think of or talk about limitation or poverty. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to us what we think into it. The more spiritual the thought, the higher its manifestation. Spiritual thought actually means an absolute belief and a reliance on this truth. And this is both natural and normal, according to Ernest Holmes. So I want you to just take a moment and think about your personal thought process when you have an unexpected bill come in. When your teenager goes out for the evening and is late for their curfew. Your spouse is distracted and you're trying to connect and you're not getting anything back. So what is your thought? Or maybe you text your best friend and you don't get a response immediately. You know, we're kind of in that immediate thing when it comes to our texting and emailing. We sort of expect people to get back to us right away. And that doesn't always happen. But what is our thought when it doesn't? I know for me that sometimes I think, did I do something wrong? You know, are they mad at me? Has my kid been in an accident? Or maybe I've stepped in it. Maybe I've said or done something that isn't appropriate to the people I'm around. And it's like, why can't I get it right? Or these ideas that tend to run in the background without much attention from us. But what they're doing is they're creating the world that we live in. So the universe is powerful and can only give us what we believe we deserve. Okay, so if we don't value ourselves, we will continue to create from this I'm not enough programming. And we have the power to change this. Deja, could you put the slide up, that first slide? So I wanted to share with you a quote from Thomas Troward because we're doing lots of Troward classes right now. And by putting the slide up, you'll be able to make a note of this one because it really is good. Troward wrote about the way that we can speak to the universal subjective mind. And here it is. This is what I want you to do. Fill in the blank. Okay. You're talking to the universal subjective mind. Okay. This is what I want you to do. You will now step into my place and do it, bringing all your powers and intelligence to bear and considering yourself to be none other than myself. Okay. What that is suggesting is that here it is what I want you to do. I want you to provide me with, you know, a great interview for my college acceptance, or I want you to I want to find the perfect partner for my life, or I want to raise my income in some way. So that's what I'm going to give to the universe. This is what I want you to do. Fill the financial coffers. And now you're going to step into that place. And you're going to do it, universe, bringing all your powers and intelligence to bear and considering yourself none other than myself. And so it is. And I love that quote so much because it's one of those statements that's like, wow, ordering the divine within to do your bidding. Ernest Holmes had said throughout his writings, make a demand on the universe. Make a demand on the universe. Sometimes we're a little bit wishy-washy about what we want or what we think we should have or what we're entitled to or what would be good for our lives. And the reason we're a little bit wishy-washy is because there's a part of us that thinks maybe we can't have it. Maybe it's not there for us, that maybe we're not enough. So what I want us to do is to begin to reframe how it is that we look at the world, the way we think about things, and recognize that there's a power in the universe and we can use it. Well, more important than that, we are using it every moment of every day. However, are we conscious in how we're using it? Are we thinking negatively, critically, judgmentally, moment by moment? And if so, how does life look to us, right? Are we taking the time to interrupt our thinking and to begin to acknowledge the genius that we are? Do we look in the mirror and see the remarkable body the Creator has made for us to live in? Do we see the beauty, the magnificence, the dynamic possibility that is expressing through us as life? I don't know about you, but often when I look in the mirror, I see bleh, dark circles under the eyes, sagging around the neck, maybe tiredness. My mind does a checks and balance about what I look like in that moment. And given that our thoughts and words are propelling our life force, that makes it kind of look bad. Our thoughts go to what are people going to think about me, right? Like when we look tired or drawn, we might worry about, oh, well, I've got to do something to look better so people will be more accepting of me, or I have to be careful what I say in certain environments because I want to make sure that people like me. And so sometimes we're so busy trying to fit in that we have lost sight of who we really are. And we've also maybe given up a great aspect of our own self in order to try to fit in somewhere. And the reality is that it's not about fitting in. We need to belong to ourselves. We need to find a way to love who we are. We need to awaken to a greater sense of what my possibilities are, and then choose to be vulnerable, choose to be brave, choose to stand out in the moment and go, my life is happening in ways that are sometimes messy. Now, if you look around the world today, there's a lot of messy opportunities, right? And one of the things for me that I've had happen a couple times recently is I've been in groups where we are working to eliminate racism and to create more equity and inclusion and things like that. Well, I happen to be a white woman from a white city, from a white family, with my white privilege, with my whiteness. And it's what I know because it's what I was raised with. And as I seek to create greater equity and inclusion and possibility, and as I speak about things as honestly and vulnerably and authentically as I can, sometimes I say things in ways that are received, well, not necessarily in the manner that I had hoped. And so there has to be a risk that we take sometimes. I was listening to Brene Brown talking about vulnerability and courage, and she said, you can't have courage without vulnerability. It doesn't exist. And so if we want to be courageous, if we want to make a world that is, going to work for the highest and best good of all people, if we want to really awaken to that sacred, authentic self, which is our vision, then we have to be willing to be vulnerable. We have to be willing to step in to something that we're not sure about. to do our best in each moment. And then by doing that, be willing to fail. And I think, when I first heard Brene Brown talk about failure, it's like we have to be prepared for that. That being vulnerable means that I'm willing to fall down. I remember when I was preaching at Verity on a regular basis, there was a song they would sing, and it was, "A saint is just a sinner that got up." And I really liked the message of that, because sin means to miss the mark. And when we're standing in our authentic, open self, we actually are putting ourselves out in a way which means we may trip and fall. And I know for myself that I've had that scary opportunity more than once, where something inside of me has gone, okay, here's what you need to share next. But in sharing that, there was a feeling of, that's not safe to say, because if I say that, how am I going to be judged? How am I going to be judged? And we worry about that, don't we? I know in A Course in Miracles, and I've mentioned this before, but A Course in Miracles talks about what people think of you as none of your business. Well, it might be none of our business, but I don't know about you, but we really hold it to a high standard, don't we? We want people to like us. We want to belong. But in striving to do that, we actually give up parts of ourselves by striving to figure out what the people around us want or need, or how we may act or behave that will make us acceptable. So I think it's time that we lose that idea that I have to be perfect, I have to do it right. I know for mothers, and this is, International Women's Month, and Wednesday is International Women's Day. Yay, go women. Go men. we're all both the feminine and the masculine, but this is celebrating the life of women. When I think about the energy of being a mother and the expectations that we have in ourselves, and I love listening to women who are expecting for the very first time. And they talk about how they're going to do everything different than their parents did, or their friends are doing, or whatever, that somehow they're going to get it right. And you know what? I think we all do our very best when it comes to mothering, but there's an expectation that somehow we're going to be perfect, and somehow we're going to do it perfectly. And the truth is, we're going to make a perfect mess of it. And we're going to do it through, hopefully, a great deal of love and compassion for ourselves and for our children. And that the day will come when we can honestly share the ways in which we feel we fell down, so that we can be in that act of courage by being vulnerable. And I know my adult children, I've taken time aside with them and said, when you were this age, I did this. And, I feel really bad about that. And having them turn to me and go, I don't even remember that. But the thing is, we tend to hurt others when we're holding back. And then sometimes when we're striving to do our best, we still inadvertently will hurt other people around us. And so there has to be a point of forgiveness for ourselves and others. There has to be a sense of being willing to sit in the pain or the discomfort, to know that to be courageous means that I am willing to feel the ugly, the hurt, the disappointment, the sadness. I'm willing to be in the pain of it, because when we're feeling shame, we're cutting ourselves off. And a lot of times when people feel shame, they react out in the world. They do something hurtful to somebody else. And so we want to really sort of own our shame and sit with it, so that we can feel the pain that underlies it, whatever the disappointment is, or the unmet expectation, or the thing that's causing us to feel uncomfortable. And by being there, we allow ourselves then to open up to living authentically. I can't be authentic if I'm hiding from you. I can't be authentic if I'm hiding from myself. But I also can't experience the depths of love and joy and appreciation gratitude if I'm forever trying to figure out what my next step is so that I stay safe and protected. And that safety and protection, there's nothing safe or protected about it. It's actually a place of well, many missteps. And what happens when we make a mistake and we're not willing to be vulnerable, that's when we start blaming other people. We will blame them for what they said or did or how they hurt us or whatever, because we're not willing to sit in what's actually going on. So this life that we're living, as we strive to be the best that we can be, it's really important that we come to understand that we are one, that we're one with God, Spirit, Creator, whatever you want to call it, cosmos, that we are one with this infinite source of life, that we are powerful beyond measure. And it's not about, power being something that, you get a little bit and you get a little bit, but power is something that we all possess, an infinite storehouse of, and nobody can take it from us unless we're willingly giving it away. So it's something that is ours, that everyone has it. And to the degree that we can be authentic and honest, loving and accepting, we begin to have that power within that allows us to move forward with strength, with passion, with purpose, with excitement, with joy and delight. And so as we strive to be more spiritual, which is kind of funny because we can't be anything else, we are spiritual beings. And as we strive to be human, I think that's the harder part. And of course, we got to balance those two. Right? I'm human and I'm divine. And the two make the whole. And unless I'm willing to be both, unless I'm willing to sort of sit in who I really am and feel the love, the joy, the peace, the fear, the disappointment, it's really about allowing those emotions to be what they are and to honor the journey forward. And I know that all of us have had moments where we've said or done something we've regretted, or we've wished that things would turn out different, or somebody would treat us in a different way. What we need to recognize is that there is something about us that we've not valued completely, and everything that we have need of comes actually from us. And when we start to love ourselves deeply, and start to really acknowledge those thoughts that are going through our minds and what we're thinking about ourselves moment by moment, as we begin to live in that place of enoughness, feeling that, you know what, I am created by this divine creator, this intelligent universe. I'm part of that. And because I'm part of that, I already have within me everything that I need, all that is necessary for me to create a fulfilled and satisfied life. That my willingness to make a mistake and still get up and continue is the most powerful thing that I can do for me, but also as a way of modeling a behavior for others that allows all of us to live in our greatness, right? Our genius doesn't reveal itself when we're hiding, when we've taken veils and covered ourselves with them. When the messages of childhood or the lovely teenage years, weren't they awesome? Oh my goodness. When things were going wrong, when somebody, yelled at us or told us we were an idiot or stupid or ugly or whatever the message was, and somehow we hold on to that. And because we hold on to it, there's a part of us that maybe believes it. And what we believe about life and what we believe about the journey, that becomes our reality. But we can change that. And what I love about the Science Mind teaching is that it is a teaching that reminds us that there is a power within us that we can use consciously. We're already using it, but let's use it consciously. Let us wake up each day and say, today I choose to be who I'm created to be. I'm going to find my rhythm. I'm going to step in the garbage. I'm going to step in the upset. I'm going to make mistakes. And I'm going to love myself through it. I wrote down a quote today that Brene Brown said. Her definition of greatness is to own your story and love yourself through it. Own your story and love yourself through it. That's the definition of greatness from Brene Brown. I thought, yeah, because we all have a story, right? We've all made mistakes. We've all had great moments and disappointing moments. We've had relationships that have failed. We've been taught to hide, as women, you're not allowed to cry because, that shows weakness. And I think crying is a moment of strength and power. I think that when we let those tears flow, it sort of sparks something inside of us that's deeper and more remarkable, and allows us to stand in our true power, that can allow us to move forward. But if we shame ourselves for it, then we're disabled. And so we want to begin to find a way to be in the world that honors the life that we've been given, the journey that we walk, and the fact that all of us are in this together. That for every one of us who can stand up and stand out and be vulnerable and courageous and be willing to make a mistake and continue on, to say the wrong thing but continue on, to make a mistake and say something that might be hurtful to someone else, and then to apologize for it, to sit back and go, wow, I did that wrong. Tell me how I could, tell me what you're feeling, and let me sit with you. And I'm deeply, deeply sorry for what happened. I should never have said or done that. And I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to learn. And I think that's one of the biggest blessings, is when we step in it, when we make a mistake, when we've done something that has harmed another person because we don't know their story, their history, their journey. When we've done that and we can sit back, go, wow, that was inappropriate. I will do better. I will do better. We need to educate ourselves. We need to learn about other countries and cultures, and because we live in a very diverse country. And as we learn about different people and different ways people were raised, and different stories that they've been told, and different journeys that they've walked, we begin to create an empathy. And then from there, we can go and learn, we can research, we can go on Google, we can buy books, we can read about different people and different experiences. I recently read a book called The Inconvenient Indian, and what an eye-opener. And it's about the indigenous people of North America and the ways that the treaties have been created and broken, and the stuff that's been taken, and the way things have been handled. And it's heartbreaking to read that information and to see the damage that it's caused to an entire race of people. But also it reveals for me an opportunity as I come to understand what the journey's been. The thing occurred to me this afternoon. I was sitting in meditation and I thought, so I own a house in downtown Toronto, and I love my home. And it's my sanctuary. And maybe I've been here for many, many years. And then somebody from another country, another place, walks in, kicks me out, and says, this is now mine. And I get pushed somewhere else. I get told to live somewhere else. And there's nothing much I can do about it. When I think about it in that way, I would be outraged. I would be outraged by that. I would be outraged by that. And yet, isn't that exactly what happened? Our First Nations were here first. And as European settlers came in, they just simply moved them out of the way. So we have work to do. And I don't bring this up to go, oh, how bad, how awful. No, I bring this up to go, wow, as I educate myself and as I begin to look at it from even my own perspective of how would I feel if that happened to me, then I know that there's been harm done. And I want to understand it so that I don't perpetuate it. So I can be better, so I can do better, so that I can be open and vulnerable and willing to make mistakes sometimes, but at the same time to learn from them so that I don't repeat them. I think that's the greatest honor that we can do for another person, is to acknowledge when we have made that error and to love ourselves enough to learn from it in the ways when we hurt ourselves, when we limit our own possibility and potential because we don't think we're enough. We don't think we have enough value or worth. Again, going back to that place of going, you know what, I'm willing to live in my disappointment and my upset, and I'm willing to honor who I am moment by moment. I'm willing to take this day to celebrate the life that I do have and to find a way of being the best me that I can be moment by moment. And we're here. This is a journey without a destination. We're here to live. We're here to live. And to live fully, to experience joy and to experience love, we have to be willing to be vulnerable, to be that first person that says, I love you, to be willing to lose at something in order to gain something. Everything's a risk. When we step out, there's a risk there. And it's okay because some of those risks take us to greater and greater things. And sometimes we fail. And that's okay too. It's sitting in the pain of the failure, the disappointment, the breakup that allows us to begin to see who we really are and to know that, yeah, life sometimes kicks the hell out of us, but we can get up and we can move on because at the core of our being, there's a power, there's a strength that's invincible. There's something remarkable about each and every one of us. And sometimes we hear stories from people, you put yourself out and then people, especially online, they'll put in comments and stuff that are, I hate you, that was stupid, what were you thinking? You're such an idiot. And we have a choice. We're always at choice, right? We're a choice to look at that and listen to that and to buy into it and believe it and feel bad about ourselves, which is sometimes what we do. Or our choice is to not even read it in the first place, which maybe would be a more empowered one. Or the choice is to go, you know what? Do I actually believe them? And if I don't, then I let it go. I remember Miranda Sings, very funny young woman who my daughter used to watch all her videos and everything. And she created a song about the haters. And because she did lots of online stuff, she had lots of followers, still does, I'm sure. And she wrote a song about haters and she would read the horrible quotes they were putting in. And then at the end she'd go, and you're paying my rent. And because she was making money off of all of this YouTube business. So all of their comments were only fueling her greater success financially and in other ways. So she was able to flip it and turn it around a little bit. But I'm sure there were moments when she felt the immense angst of it as people were being hateful. But ultimately, it's up to us what we believe. It's up to us what we believe. Deja, we've got another slide I wanted to share. Theodore Roosevelt, in a speech in 1912, said, "It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of the deeds could have done it different. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again and again, and who in the end, while they may know the triumph of high achievement, at least when he fails, he does so daring greatly." I love that quote. I love that because the thing is, people are going to tell us stuff, right? They're going to dislike some of what we do or like some of what we do. And as it says in A Course in Miracles, what people think of you, none of your business, because what they think of you has nothing to do with you. It is their reaction to what you're saying, doing, being. For most of the time, it is more about them. It's speaking more about who they are and what they do and how they do it, and less about who you are or what you are, how you do things. I think most of us are striving to do our best. And as we embark on this spiritual journey, for me, it's been about finding me. It's been about finding myself and being okay with who I am, letting go of that teenage girl who just didn't fit in, who seemed to step in it continuously, who always felt less than, always wanted to be somebody different, somewhere different, experiencing some new thing. Unaccepting of, the beauty, the gifts, the talent that were there, and sort of shunning them and moving them aside. And I know that's the story for many of us. But we're here on a journey of awakening and expanding. And when I had my spiritual epiphany at 27, it was a moment of awareness that I'm part of an infinite universe that is love. I knew God is love. And that energy of love was so full and so strong and so powerful that it changed the trajectory of my life. I knew in that moment that I would be a minister. Didn't know where, because the church I was in wouldn't allow women to do that. But here we are. It was standing in the potential and possibility of seeing life in a new way. And even in the midst of that, there was a part of me that was going, how can I fit into this church that I'm in? How can I learn what they know? I thought they knew lots. I thought they had the answers. What is this God thing? What is this whole story? And what I came to realize is they didn't have any more answers than I did. That the journey that we're on is about surrendering moment by moment, of being in life. We're here to live. We're not here to be perfect. We're not here to have all the answers. We're here to live, to experience joy and greatness. And the only way we can experience those is to be authentic. And the only way we can be authentic is if we take down the shields, the walls we've built around our hearts and minds that keep people out, keep people away. We need to knock them down, knock down the walls. I remember when the Berlin Wall fell and I thought, what? How could that happen? When I look at world events, I sometimes think they're like the macrocosm of the microcosm, that there's something in me had a wall that needed to be brought down too. And I think as I'm excavating that wall, even still today, that there's the hope of something different occurring, something remarkable happening as a result. And so day by day and moment by moment, I'm excavating that self, that part of me that I'm sure exists somewhere. And I'm getting closer to saying, hey, here I am, and being willing to day by day be vulnerable. We strive to be great. We strive to be seen. We strive to be accepted. We strive to belong. The belonging that we need to uncover is belonging to ourselves. One of the things that Brene Brown said that I thought, yeah, that speaks to me. Because as I come to a comfort place where I belong to me, where I accept me, when I accept the divinity, the way God created me, the fact that I'm created unique and special like everybody else, but my uniqueness is unique to me. And as I let that out, as I begin to free that into the world, then a transformation occurs that is quite exciting and beautiful. And painful and messy and ugly, like all birth. So it's time to be daring. It's time to stand out in a crowd and accept the genius that resides in you, that resides in me. Will you say the wrong things at times? Yes. Will you fail at some point? Yes. Will you get back up? That's a choice. Will you be judged and criticized? Yes, probably. And will you believe the words said about you and crawl away broken and defeated? Or will you choose to correct any error you may have made and courageously begin again? Learning and growing along the way. Our journey is not to be perfect, but to be perfectly vulnerable, to make mistakes and continue. Our journey is to connect with each other in a real way, to lower the veils we hide behind, and to share who we really are. So I invite you, when you crawl out of bed in the morning, to ask yourself, am I ready to be courageous? Am I ready to be me. Thank you. Oh, all right. Well, we have a couple of announcements, things going forward this week. First is Spirit Cafe this Wednesday at noon on YouTube, Spirit Cafe show. Janet Ellis is our guest, and we three women will be celebrating International Women's Day. So be sure to watch if you can. The Joy Show on Friday will have Alberto and Moni, and their story is really kind of cool because they met on a little hike. Well, maybe it was more than a little more of a hike. It was the Camino Trail in Spain. And by the end of the journey, which they did a peace walk all the way to Jerusalem, and took them, I think, 13 months or something. But that journey, they met and they fell in love, and they've created a life that's beautiful and one that's deeply moving. So be sure to join on Friday at 3:00 to listen to Alberta and Moni and just see what they have to say. On Saturday, there's a new class starting. It's the Spiritual Mind Treatment class. That's where we learn how to change conditions and things in our lives that maybe are a struggle for us right now. We begin to take some of that power back as we start to use this affirmative mental treatment that allows us to begin to change our minds from the inside out, so that we can create a new experience. So you're invited to that. Now, next week, Tuesday. So one more class. Oops, forgot to put that in my notes. Spiritual Economics starts at the end of the month on Thursday nights, and everybody's invited to come. The book was written by Eric Butterworth, and it is a powerful, transformative way of living where we begin to really excavate that divine essence and live from our greatness. So you'll want to check that out. And then next Tuesday, so the Reverend Dr. Edward Vilhelm was our past spiritual leader with the Centers for Spiritual Living. And he gave his outgoing speech at the convention 2 weeks ago. It is a powerful and remarkable message. So you're all invited to join on Zoom next Tuesday night when we share his words as the outgoing spiritual leader for the Centers for Spiritual Living. It's powerful. You do not want to miss it. All right. And my podcast. Well, I've rebranded my podcast. It's now called Healing Revealed. Nobody really knew what this thing that I do was. So it was time to change that. And my eldest daughter, Arlene, was one who said, "Mom, what does that even mean?" So Healing Revealed is one that's just started. I only have a couple of episodes up now, but I will be adding episodes every week. And it's really about the healing journey, the awakening of the self, and how we can create greater harmony in our lives and in our world. So you can check out that on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. I think there's probably a couple of other podcast places where you can get it as well. So you're invited to take a listen and hey, share it, comment, make sure they're kind comments, would you? All right. Well, I'm grateful that you're here. As always, I'm grateful to spend this time with you. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. I hope something has sort of sparked something inside of you to create a better day every day for you. So I invite you to give generously to the Center for Spiritual Living. We are a charitable organization that relies on the giving of our membership to keep things rolling. And so if it's serving you in any way, if it's providing insight or inspiration or something positive for you and for your life, I invite you to give generously and know that we deeply appreciate everything that you give and everything that you do. So whether you're volunteering, attending classes, sharing your treasure, your time, your talent, however you give, we love you and we appreciate you. So thank you for that. And you can give by e-transfer to admin@cslonthelake.com. You can also go to our website and hit the give link or mail a check to our office. However you choose to give, we thank you. And so as we get ready to close with our closing spiritual mind treatment, I remind you just to stick around afterwards so that we can have a little chat together and have a little community time. Join with me in consciousness. Within the infinite and the absolute, I discover life, strength. I discover a power and presence that's beyond description. I am part of an intelligent universe that reacts intelligently to me and through me, for it is being me. And as I live from this as me consciousness, this consciousness of oneness with the divine presence, consciousness of oneness with all life, with all things, I come to understand the world in a new and wonderful way and choose to live with a deep appreciation for all that is, for the mistakes that have been made and the corrections on their way or revealed. I choose to acknowledge and respect the journey, all that it's been. I choose to live fully and completely with passion and purpose, creating a world that is satisfying to me and to those around me, hoping beyond hopes, believing that life can be a gift and a blessing for all. Seeing the beauty and the wonder, the diversity, the creativity of the people of this planet, and seeing how brilliantly, beautifully, and remarkably life is unfolding for each and every one of us. And I see it getting just better and better every single day. So I choose love and peace. I choose grace and kindness, compassion, collaboration, cooperation. I choose love. And it is in that place of unifying completely with life everywhere that I discover my true self. And for this and so much more, I say thank you. So filled with gratitude and grace, love and light, I release these ideas into the law of mind, where I know it is done and all is well. And I let that be my truth. Together we say, and so